The sky over North America burned green and violet that night, the colors swirling like ribbons of oil on water. People gathered outside shopping centers, their breath steaming in the cold, their phones raised to capture what they thought was another seasonal spectacle. Inside, fluorescent aisles overflowed with televisions, drones, and half-price coffee makers. No one noticed the faint vibration beneath the asphalt, the hum too low to register as danger. It was 1 minute past midnight on Black Friday when the first lights fell. Aboard a ship hidden in the shadow of Neptune, 3 alien officers watched Earth through a crystalline viewport. They had studied this planet for centuries, dissecting its transmissions, its wars, its strange attachment to commerce. To them, humanity was a race of contradictions, capable of art and annihilation in the same breath. The eldest, Commander Rethvar, adjusted his scaled hands over the holographic display. "Proceed," he said, voice sharp and metallic. Beneath him, the tactical officer initiated deployment. Pods the size of meteors streaked through the upper atmosphere, disguised within the glowing auroras. Inside each capsule slept an assassin. Creatures grown in nutrient tanks, skin laced with stealth membranes that bent light. They were swift, efficient, and utterly obedient. Rethvar observed the trajectory plots. Target zones synchronized, command centers, defense grids, major capitals. Eliminate resistance before they organize. The youngest officer hesitated. And if they resist immediately? Rethvar's gaze remained fixed on Earth's turning surface. Then they will learn why empires do not negotiate with noise. When the pod struck, the sound came too late. Shockwaves flattened intersections, silencing entire blocks. In the confusion, the assassins emerged, faceless silhouettes cutting through streets littered with merchandise and flashing signs. They communicated through ultraviolet pulses invisible to human eyes, dismantling power substations and broadcasting interference that crippled satellites. Governments faltered before they could even confirm what had arrived. News anchors vanished mid-sentence. Entire cities fell into darkness. In Washington, a final transmission sputtered across an encrypted military band. Infiltrators confirmed. Non-human. They're invisible. Static swallowed the rest. Half a planet away, beneath kilometers of permafrost, an old AI stirred. Its servers hummed to life, dust falling from pipes like snow. Lines of code scrolled across green monitors until one message blinked steady and read, "Project Longshot. Authorization granted." Deep in the cryogenic chamber, the glass lids hissed open. A man lay within. Frozen breath crystallized around his beard, a scar crossing one cheek like a blade's memory. The chamber's voice, smooth but urgent, broke the silence. Asset awakened. Codename, American Snipe. He gasped, lungs clawing for air that felt heavier than it should. "How long?" 17 years since deactivation, the AI answered. Earth Defense Command compromised. Unknown hostiles in global theater. He sat up, the muscles in his arms trembling from stasis. Around him, the bunker was silent except for the rhythmic hum of power returning. The last thing he remembered was a mission that had gone too right, a shot taken across 6 kilometers that ended a war before it began. He had been placed in cold storage afterward, part of a contingency plan no one expected to use. "Status of command?" he asked. "Non-existent," said the AI. "You are the last operational asset outside enemy interference range." He swung his legs off the platform, feeling the weight of gravity and time. The armor locker beside him recognized his biosignature and opened with a sigh. Inside waited the precision rifle, matte black, long as his arm span. Each piece fit into his hands with the comfort of memory. "Then it's just me," he muttered. "Correct," the AI replied. "And whatever humanity still remains." On the alien command ship, Rethvar analyzed casualty metrics. Human response rates were lower than expected, but there were anomalies, isolated signals resisting interference. One in particular pulsed from the northern hemisphere, a transmission too deliberate to be accidental. "Investigate this frequency," he ordered, An under-officer traced it, frowning. Origin, Arctic perimeter. No active colonies recorded. Rethvar narrowed his eyes. Send a recon unit. Eliminate anything transmitting. Back on Earth, the man known only as the Snipe climbed from the subterranean exit into the frozen wilderness. The auroras above still shimmered, masking the faint trails of descending enemy craft. He pressed a gloved hand to his earpiece. Sentinel, give me eyes. The AI responded instantly, mapping the terrain through drones still operational. Multiple contacts approaching your sector. Estimated arrival, 16 minutes. Fast, he said. They think this is routine cleanup. He knelt, brushing snow from a buried control panel. With a twist of a dial, power surged through dormant defense towers hidden in the ice. The hum grew louder, spreading through the night like a warning heartbeat. His breath clouded the air. Let's remind them Earth's not for sale. Far above, one of the alien assassins adjusted its visor, scanning the ground. Its lenses picked up the faint electromagnetic bloom of human technology. Through the ship's comms, Rethvar's voice echoed. Confirm target before eradication. The assassin leapt from the pod, its form blending into the blizzard. Below, the Snipe chambered around, steady hands aligning the scope toward the horizon. The world narrowed to a single line between predator and prey. Contact in visual range, Sentinel whispered. I see him. The wind screamed across the tundra. For a heartbeat, both hunter and hunted froze, one cloaked in alien precision, the other in human defiance. The Snipe exhaled once, slow and even, as the crosshairs settled. Somewhere deep within the cosmos, the first thread of resistance tightened. He pulled the trigger. The shot echoed across the frozen wasteland, a sound sharp enough to split the quiet night. Far away, on the alien command bridge, alarms flickered red. Rethvar turned toward the readings in disbelief. One assassin's signal had vanished from every sensor. Impossible, he hissed. Back on Earth, the man lowered his rifle, watching the smoke drift into the cold air. The auroras continued their ghostly dance above him. His voice was barely a whisper, but Sentinel recorded every syllable. Welcome to Black Friday. Snow fell in whispering sheets over the ruined refinery, softening the edges of twisted steel and shattered glass. The Snipe moved through the wreckage like a shadow, given purpose, his breath a slow rhythm beneath the fabric of his mask. Every sound mattered. The creak of metal under frost, the faint hum of the wind as it threaded through broken pipes. His shot last night had drawn attention. He could feel it in the static that whispered across the radio bands, in the uneasy silence of the wild that should have been alive with wind and wolves. The aliens would not ignore the death of one of their own. They would come, and that was fine. He had waited long enough for something worth aiming at. Inside the control station, the old AI flickered to life again, its voice steady but colder now, as if mimicking the temperature outside. Enemy forces converging from 3 vectors. Estimated time to contact, 40 minutes. Enough for prep, the Snipe replied. He laid his rifle on the table and began dismantling it with a precision that bordered on ritual. Each part was checked, cleaned, reassembled with the care of surgeon. His gloved fingers moved without hesitation, memory guiding muscle. Tell me what we're dealing with. Sentinel projected a 3-dimensional map across the cracked wall. Tiny red lights pulsed across the terrain. Moving units, triangulating his last known position. 4 assassins. Light-bending camouflage, energy weapons, thermal resistance. Their movements suggest coordinated tracking. They know you exist, but not exactly where. He nodded once. Then let's make that my advantage. He had hunted men before, terrorists, warlords, even a few ghosts his own government refused to acknowledge. But this felt different. These things weren't driven by ideology or greed. They hunted because they were ordered to, because extermination was their language. Against that kind of certainty, a single human seemed insignificant. Yet, the Snipe had always found meaning in the impossible. Humanity's greatest weapon, he thought, wasn't its strength. It was its refusal to surrender logic when instinct whispered otherwise. He moved through the facility, setting traps where rusted machinery provided cover. He wired pressure sensors beneath debris, rigged tripwires to explode in brilliant flares designed not to kill, but to expose. They see everything but themselves, he murmured, remembering old sniper doctrine. Light's their shield. Light will be their enemy. The AI monitored his progress. This level of improvisation borders on reckless. He almost smiled. That's why it works. As he climbed the metal staircase toward the upper levels, he paused at a shattered window. Beyond the perimeter stretched a forest of dead trees, their trunks pale as bones under the auroras. For a moment, he allowed himself to remember training days in the Rockies, laughter over bad coffee, a commander who once said, "You'll die behind glass, son, but you'll see the world clearer than anyone." The memory ached, sharp and bright, before fading beneath the weight of duty. He turned back to his rifle, adjusting the scope until the world narrowed again. Sentinel's voice broke the stillness. Visual confirmation on first contact. East sector moving fast. The snipe dropped prone, aligning the rifle on the window ledge. Through the scope, the snow shifted unnaturally, like invisible hands brushing against it. The assassin was nearly transparent, an outline in motion, light warping around a humanoid shape. Its head turned, scanning, the faint distortion flickering as if uncertain of its own boundaries. He steadied his breathing, thumb resting on the trigger. "Range, 700 meters, Sentinel said. "Wind east, 8 knots. Adjusting." He inhaled once, then exhaled the world away. The shot cracked through the air. For an instant, the assassin's cloak shimmered into visibility before imploding in a burst of electric blue. The snow around it turned to steam. "Target down," Sentinel confirmed. The snipe chambered another round. "That's one." The next assassin arrived almost immediately, faster, angrier. Its movements were erratic, scanning for the source of the kill. He used the environment to mislead it, tossing a reflective sensor that emitted faint human heat signatures. The alien fired, a beam of white plasma cutting through a wall where the decoys sat. The blast lit the refinery like a dying sun. He shifted positions, crawling through a service duct that smelled of rust and oil. Sentinel whispered coordinates into his ear, updating alien positions in real time. 2 more closing in from the north. Their comms indicate frustration. They're losing coordination. "That's what happens when you bleed," he muttered. He set up again behind a stack of rusted barrels, the rifle's barrel resting steady on the cold metal. The second alien appeared, stepping through the mist left by the explosion. This one was larger, moving with mechanical precision. The snipe aimed lower, center mass, where the alien armor was thickest, and squeezed the trigger twice. The first round cracked its shield. The second pierced the creature's core, sending arcs of blue energy spilling across the snow. "Two confirmed," Sentinel said. "You're reducing their efficiency." "Not enough," he answered. "They'll adapt soon." As if on cue, the remaining assassins vanished completely from sensors. The map flickered empty. Sentinel's tone sharpened. "They've switched to passive mode. No thermal or electromagnetic signatures. You're blind now." The snipe adjusted his position, scanning the refinery's corridors. Every shadow seemed to breathe. He steadied his heartbeat, listening. Then, metal groaned above him. He rolled aside as a plasma blade slashed through the floor, molten steel raining sparks. He fired upward instinctively. The alien fell, half-cloaked, writhing in light. He stood, drew a combat knife from his belt, and finished it cleanly, a silent motion born of reflex. The last one came silently from behind, too close for the rifle. He pivoted, parrying with the rifle's frame, the alien's claws scraping sparks off the weapon's body. They struggled in the narrow hallway, the smell of ozone filling the air. He jammed the rifle's barrel under its chin and fired point-blank. The alien's head erupted in blue flame, the recoil knocking him against the wall. Silence reclaimed the refinery, broken only by the hiss of cooling metal. The snipe lowered his weapon, chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. Sentinel's voice returned, quieter now. For units neutralized. Command signal from orbit unchanged. They know you're alive. He leaned against the wall, eyes tracing the dim horizon beyond the shattered roof. Good, he said, voice low but certain. Let them come see for themselves. Above the clouds, in the cold black of orbit, the alien officers watched the feed of their fallen assassins. Commander Rethvar's hand tightened around the railing. Prepare descent, he ordered. We end this personally. On Earth, the Snipe reloaded his rifle and stared into the sky that glowed faintly with alien light. The war was no longer distant. It was coming straight for him, and for the first time in years, he felt alive. The refinery no longer breathed. Every sound within it had died, leaving only the moan of the wind through the fractured roof. The Snipe stood among the ruins, rifle slung across his back, body aching from cold and combat. His pulse felt like distant artillery, steady, deliberate, unwilling to surrender. Through the cracked skylight, the auroras churned like a storm warning, their colors bruised and red. He knew what they meant now. The officers were coming. The assassins had been hunters, but their masters would be executioners. Sentinel's voice came low through the static. Orbital craft descending. Mass signature triple the previous draw pods. Multiple life forms detected. He tightened his gloves. They're bringing command to the field. Affirmative, the AI replied. Tactical options limited. You cannot face them directly. He smirked, though no one could see it. That's why I don't do direct. The night split open with a thunderous vibration as a column of light pierced the clouds. The alien craft descended slowly, its hull blacker than the sky itself, absorbing the auroras around it. When it landed in the clearing beyond the refinery, the earth cracked beneath its weight. He watched through his scope as its hatch opened, releasing a surge of heated mist. 3 figures emerged, taller than men, cloaked in armor that rippled like mercury. The officers moved with the calm of beings who had never known fear. Rethvar led them, his presence unmistakable even at distance. He carried no visible weapon, only a staff that pulsed faintly with inner light. His gaze swept the ruin-strewn valley, scanning for the invisible hand that had slain his assassins. Primitive world, he said in his own tongue, voice low but resonant. And yet it resists the inevitable. His subordinate activated a device that unfolded into a hovering array of sensors. The air shimmered as it searched for signs of life. He is near, the alien reported. But the interference in this zone. Rethvar silenced him with a gesture. Then we will flush him out. From his perch inside a collapsed tower, the Snipe adjusted his rifle, the barrel resting against a girder slick with frost. The officers stood aligned perfectly within his field of fire, but he didn't shoot. Not yet. Their movements were too deliberate. He needed them confident, needed them to believe they were in control. Sentinel, he whispered, activate grid line 3. Below the snow, the sensors and tripwires he'd buried earlier awakened, pulsing faintly as power coursed through them. The refinery's remaining infrastructure, patched together with stolen alien components, came alive with static. System ready, the AI confirmed. He exhaled slowly. Then let's even the field. The explosion was not fire but light, pure, searing white. It burst from the refinery's heart, flooding the valley in radiance that stripped away shadow. The officers staggered, their cloaks flickering. For the first time, their outlines were fully visible, their armor refracting shards of light like broken glass. The Snipe fired. The round tore through the air at hypersonic speed, striking the officer on the left square in the chest. The impact hurled the alien backward, blue plasma spilling into the snow. Before the echo faded, the Snipe shifted position, rolled behind a pipe, and chambered another round. Rethvar spun, eyes narrowing. His staff glowed brighter, sending a wave of energy through the air. The steel around the Snipe vibrated violently, bolts rattling loose. He ducked as the wall behind him disintegrated into molten dust. Sentinel, power reroute. Working, the AI replied. Their technology surpasses projection models. Yeah, I noticed. He moved, crawling through the shadows toward another vantage point. Every step cost breath. Every heartbeat measured distance between life and the next target. He had learned long ago that fear was not the enemy. It was hesitation. He would not hesitate. The second officer advanced through the snow, raising a weapon that resembled a spear but hummed like a reactor. The snipe steadied his rifle. "Come on," he whispered. The alien aimed toward the tower, but before it could fire, a delayed charge detonated beneath its feet. The explosion sent the creature spinning, armor peeling apart like foil. The snipe's next bullet ended at midair, leaving only a fading echo in the wind. 2 down, 1 left. Rethvar stood motionless amid the smoke, his armor scarred, his voice calm. "You are an anomaly," he called, amplifying his voice through the staff. "One soldier against an empire. What do you think this accomplishes?" The snipe's answer came as a whisper the wind carried to no one but himself. "Proof we don't go quietly." He climbed the final tower, the highest point in the refinery, where the view stretched across the burning horizon. His lungs burned with the cold. Blood from a wound on his shoulder dripped down his sleeve. Sentinel flickered back online, faint and distorted. His ship's core exposed. One precision shot could destabilize it. "Then give me coordinates." The AI fed him the data. Through the scope, he saw it. A pulsing blue orb beneath the craft's hull, glowing like the heart of a dying star. He adjusted for wind, distance, curvature. Everything narrowed into a single point of clarity. Rethvar sensed it too late. He turned toward the tower, raising his staff as energy gathered around him. The snipe fired. The bullet tore through the storm, slicing the air in a perfect arc. It struck the core dead center. For a heartbeat, silence held. Then light consumed everything. The alien ship erupted in a spiral of fire and plasma, the explosion rolling across the valley in waves of blinding brilliance. The shockwave hit the tower, throwing the snipe backward. He crashed through steel beams and landed hard among the ruins. His body screamed in protest, but he forced himself upright, watching the sky. The ship was gone, leaving only falling embers and a fading glow. The auroras dimmed as if exhaling their exhaustion. Sentinel's voice was faint, almost reverent. Command signal terminated. All hostiles offline. He lowered his head, exhaustion washing through him like a tide. Status of Earth? Unclear, the AI said. But the broadcasts are returning. You've lit the signal again. He sat among the wreckage, breathing smoke and cold air, staring at the dawn beginning to edge across the horizon. For the first time in years, the world felt larger than the war. Above, in the silence of orbit, a damaged alien satellite flickered to life, transmitting one final fragment back to its home world. The image of a human sniper standing amid ruins, rifle raised against the rising sun. The signal carried across the stars, a warning wrapped in awe. The snipe slung his weapon over his shoulder and began walking toward the light. Behind him, Sentinel's final words echoed softly in his earpiece. "Black Friday is over, soldier, but they'll remember the receipt." He smiled faintly. "That's the idea."